Thank you, Chair. During our visit to Nigeria, many of the members of the committee were very struck by the fact that we met people at all levels of the political spectrum, but very few women within that sphere. And my colleague Pauline raised it a number of times in many meetings that we attended. So how important is increased representation of women in Parliament, in Senate and House of Representatives to achieving gender equality? And what can DFID do to facilitate that?
You saw the lady who was sitting here. She's one of these rare species as a member of the Nigerian House of Representatives. And the fact is that year on year we've been having a reduction. You know, we've been having more women contesting and less women winning positions. I put it as the fight back of patriarchy, because there's active agency of actors to keep women out of politics, out of power, out of decision making and so on. And DFID has been funding work around democracy. In fact, ActionAid, we are implementing a project funded by DFID looking at citizens' engagement in the electoral process. But then in terms of focus on women, DFID also recently, working with NDI, is starting a specific strand of work on women in politics in Nigeria. Without women at the leadership, it's very difficult for anybody to focus attention on issues as women experience it. Yeah, men may feel benevolent, they may feel kind. A few men understand it as an issue of rights. But unless we're able to get more women in there, not just at the national level, at the local levels as well, and also in appointed positions as well, we will not be able to have the kind of policies that we need to bring about the change. Men and women are victims of patriarchy. And so there's also need to work with them, especially with women organizations and the women's movement, to lift them out of that patriarchy and be able to see things basically as individual rights and a collective of the society's progress from that.
Thank you. To what extent was the rejection of the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill a major blow to the advancement of gender equality? And what do you think the Nigerian government's next step should be?
I think it's a blow. I was surprised actually that it was brought to the House so quickly. I don't know whether when I was there only in November, it seemed to be that there was a rather longer time frame planned, and there was an awful lot of preparatory work that needed to happen. So I don't know. I'm just kind of assuming that a lot of that preparatory work hadn't been possible because it was, but it's also using the word gender. It's, there seems to be such a problem with it, and also putting women at the centre. So I think it's a big issue until people actually accept that something needs to happen, and it's a lot to do with lack of knowledge and understanding of what the issues really are. So that's why I say this preparatory work is absolutely essential, and I think there is, still potential, and I think there is almost sort of like a bit of a groundswell, but like she was saying, there are people fighting back, and the issues around women's leadership within the Parliament is that there are again these barriers as well. So even though more and more women might be coming forward, there are all sorts of challenges even around. You'll find it in this House as well, that women participating within these kinds of spaces. What's enabling about it, and do we understand what some of the challenges are and the attacks that people might be under? So that's I think that needs to be addressed possibly before the Act can move forward. I don't know what you.
Can I ask just a very quick? Sorry, can I ask a quick question just to finish, and then also take your point? I was informed that in when I was in Nigeria, when I was speaking less formally to some of the groups that we've met, that access to economic empowerment is very, very important in terms of being able to access political empowerment. And I'm wondering if you think that there's a connection there between the two, and also very pleased to take your point.
A massive question to which I want really short
Yeah, there is a big connection between the economic wherewithal of a woman and her access to politics. One, the political parties have set it such that if you want a position, it's up for sale to the highest bidder. And unfortunately, the Independent National Electoral Commission has decided that it's independent and it cannot interfere in internal party issues. And so even though we talk about the constitutional provision of protection from discrimination on grounds of sex, it says if it steps, the position is that if it steps in, then it's discriminating against men for protecting women's rights. So all of that. Yes, there is a massive correlation, and that is why a lot of programs that work on women and politics is not working, because they build their capacity. Nigerian women have a lot of capacity. They understand the environment, but they don't have the money to be able to do the kind of activities that politicians need. Party financing is a gray area that we are talking about. We are advocating for transparency and limitations around, and that will go a long way to help. The Gender Equality Bill is actually something that was taken on from the last assembly, which is why it looks like there was little work done on it. And I think what it has served for the women's movement is to show a picture of the fundamentalism that women's rights movement is facing in Nigeria, and how there really is a huge barrier, especially when you look at the statements by some of the male senators when it was being considered.